Hello, Julie here and welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me here today. I'm going to make a card and it's going to be 5 1/4 inches square. So I've cut a piece that's 10 1/2 by 5 1/4 and now I'm going to score that at 5 1/4 and that will give me my card base. I always seem to make my own card bases. Very rarely do I use a purchased one. I find that if you make your own they sit better, so they line up and they're more square. Now I'm going to use a piece of, this is the actual offcut from this, so this is a 300 GSM cardstock, so it's a nice solid weight, and I'm going to, well, I might trim that down first. So mine's 5 1/4, so I'm going to trim a piece that is whatever this height is that I've cut off, and I'm going to trim that down to, let's say, 5 inches, and I'll trim another piece down to 5 inches. I want 2 pieces. Okay, so now we've got 2 pieces that are exactly the same, and when I position them on my card front, they overlap. They overlap by quite a bit. They overlap by more than I want, but I can trim that down as I go. So for the bottom section of my card, I want this panel, and instead of using an embossing folder, I'm going to use my scoring tool and just put a score line every 1/8 of an inch all the way across it. Now this will give me a pattern on my piece of cardstock that is straight lines that are embossed onto that cardstock. You can see it makes the cardstock curl a little, but I'll be able to stop that curl when I stick it down. The tape or glue, that whatever I use, will stop that curl. This is a good way to make a circle if you want a circle of something, you know, like a ring. So you get the card, sort of breaks the fibres in the card, I guess, and you're able to, it's a bit fiddly getting into this very edge part, so I think I might just turn that around and go out this way. Doesn't make any difference which end you score from. So there we have it. So that, see how it's sort of like corrugated? That's going to be my bottom panel for my card, and it's going to go there. It's a well, I'm wondering now whether I should trim that down a little bit and perhaps mat that on paper, but I'll leave that for now and see how I go. Now with this piece, which is going to be the top, I'm going to use an embossing folder and put that through my big shot, so I'll go and do that and then I'll come back. Okay, so I used my Sizzix 3D Bohemian Botanicals embossing folder, looks like that, and I have embossed my top piece. So that's going to be on the bottom, that's going to be on the top, or I might move them around like that because I'm going to put some embellishments up the top here, so yeah, I might do it that way. But I've also decided to add some colour to this, so I'm going to cut myself a piece of 5-inch square pink cardstock. This is uniquely creative paper, and it comes from the Serendipity paper range. So that's there, which means I'll have to trim these 2 pieces down a little bit. So I'm going to trim these down to 4 3/4. That will give me just a little border around of pink. Do I want it that small, or do I want it, let me see, that will, yeah, I think that will be enough colour. So cut that one off too. Okay, so I'll need that again in a minute to cut this down to the size I want. So that's going to give me that in the background, and then this on there like so. So that will come up like that, and that can come like that. Okay, now this one I want to cut this a bit shorter. So I want that to be probably about there. So if I could just mark that with a pencil, be about there. And I can cut that off, so that's the correct length now. So that's 2 inches. Okay, so now I've got that, and that. Just overlaps that a little. Right, so now I'm thinking I want to have a little bit of this pattern paper. Is that what I used? Yes. And I've got 5 inches there. Let's have a look at that. Yes, I have. Okay. Alright, so next I'm going to punch the edge of this. I'll just get a punch and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got this Martha Stewart punch. It's a round the page punch, but I'm just using this straight bit at the moment. So I'm just going to punch along the edge of this piece of cardstock here. I've got so many punches and I never use them, never think to get them out. So one of my, well, not really resolutions, but one of my aims in the year to come is to use more stuff that I have already got. So that's my plan. Let's see how far I go with it. So now I'm going to trim this down. Let's trim to about there. So that's 3/4 of an inch. And then trim that off to this 4 3/4 inches that was. So 4 3/4. Just there. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to attach that onto that, and then that will overlap that like so, and that will go on there. So I always ink around my papers, so I'm going to do that. I'm using a black Versacolor in the little cube, very handy. They do a great job. They make all of the papers stand out from one another, but I've had this one for a while, and as you can see it's starting to disintegrate. I guess rubbing it along the edge of sharp paper all the time is probably not the best thing for it, but that's how I like to have it looking, so that's what I use it for most of the time. I never use these for actually stamping an image or anything like that. They're purely for edging things. And back in the day, you know, we used to buy one of these in every colour, so that when we did say a pink card, we'd edge the papers in pink. Well, these days I tend to use black on everything, and I've got all these little ink cubes sitting in my drawer that I don't use anymore. So that's another thing I want to sort out this year, is all of those supplies that I don't use anymore. And it's got to the stage where I'm so sick of having them around the place that I'm just about happy to throw them in the bin or gift them to a school or take them to the op shop for some other crafter who might be able to use it to pick up. So now I'm going to attach my layers here. I'm going to use glue for that. Now, the Uniquely Creative papers are they're quite a good weight, so they're not likely to buckle with the use of a liquid glue. And the cardstock I'm using for my card base, as I said, is 300 GSM, so that's a pretty good weight, and it's not likely to buckle. I've found that, I mean, I know they're cards and most people will give the card to somebody, and once they've had a read of it and kept it for a week they'll throw it out, but I like to think that when I make something, I make it so it's going to last. So, and I have found that using double-sided tape, it can, the tape can give out after a while. So I've started using basically glue for just about everything that needs to be stuck down. So I'm just going to burnish that a bit so that the glue gets a chance to spread out everywhere. All that is that you get glue all over everything. I'll do the same for this. This art glitter glue is really good. It dries clear and it's matte, so it doesn't leave a sheen or anything like that. Okay, so now if we attach that there, I find that if I go around the edge with the glue, just a bit of a splattering in the middle, that's more than enough to make everything stay in place. So I am positioning this on there so that I've got roughly equal border all the way around 3 sides. Now I'm just wondering whether I'll attach that flat or whether I might put it on a piece. I think I'll put it on some cardboard. I've got plenty of cardboard here, so I need to start using that up as well. So firstly, let's find some scissors that will cut through it. Let's put that there. Yep, so that one can go there. Is it going to be? Yes. So I need to trim that down slightly. Yep. That will be fine. And trim it off. I want that to come right out to the edge. Trim it there. That down. Now if you can hear a sort of a purring in the background, that is my camera, and when I'm recording live like this, it makes that noise, and I don't know how to stop that from happening. I don't know whether I need to get a new camera. I do use a proper camera to record, not my phone. I suppose if I used my phone it wouldn't do it. So there we go, we're going to attach that onto there. I don't know whether I need to go and buy a new camera or whether there's a setting on this camera that I might be able to change so that that noise is not there. I should take it into the camera shop and ask them the question, I guess. I might do that actually one day next week. Okay, so there's the foundation of our card. Alright, nothing on the inside. So now I wanted to make some vellum flowers. So I've got some pale pink vellum here. You can see when it's on there that it's a pale pink. And I have got this Woodware stamp. So I'm going to use that to stamp onto this vellum, and I'm going to heat emboss it. Now I haven't decided whether to heat emboss it with pink or gold. So I might do one pink one and one gold one and see which one I like and go from there. Now I've got some paper here to catch my embossing powder. I need my little bag so that get rid of the static, and I'm using Versamark watermark ink. See, it's a bit grotty looking, but hopefully that won't hurt. It's nice and juicy. So I'm just stamping my stamp with that and then putting it down. I guess I could have used my stamping platform to do this. Take that off. Now open this out. Now I've got this pale pink embossing powder that I've had for like 20 years. So I'm going to try one of those first, see what I think of the colour, how it goes with the other colours on our card. I'll move that around a bit. Dip this back into that little bottle, and it probably won't fit because this is probably the first time it's ever been used, and they do tend to puff up a little bit when you use them. Seem to grow in volume, I think. That fits there. I'm going to put the lid on that before I spill it somewhere, and then I'm going to heat it with my heat gun. So, sorry about the noise. So with the vellum, the trick is to keep your heat gun moving all the time so that you're not concentrating the heat on one spot. You can also do it from the bottom if you want to, but I don't usually find that necessary. You can see it's starting to change now. There we go. Just a little bit around here and it's all done. So what do we think of that colour with that? Oh, looks alright, doesn't it? You reckon? It's a bit pinker. This is a bit more dusty. Let's do one in gold and see what we think about that. So I'm doing exactly the same thing. Because I've already used my powder bag on here, I don't need to redo that. I'll put that there. And I've got some gold Superfine embossing powder that I have put into a wider mouth container. Makes it a bit easier to put it back in there. So we'll try the gold and see which one we like the best. This is another embossing powder that I've had for a very long time. You can see it's much easier to tip that back in the pot, and it was with that little pink one. Now, I can see that there's a little bit of excess embossing powder there, so I'm just going to use a soft brush to wipe that away. It doesn't really matter in this case because I'm going to fussy cut these flowers anyway. So here we go, let's heat this up. Once again, keeping our heat gun moving. Okay, so where's our card? Here we go. So, do we want the gold or the pink? Or should we do a combination of the two? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple more pink ones and a couple more gold ones, and then I'll come back to you, and then I'll also fussy cut them while I'm at it. And then we'll have a play around and see what we think. Okay, be back soon. Okay, so I've got my flowers. I did 3 pink and 3 gold. Now, I'm just going to sort of layer them on there like that, I think. I could put them in a row across there like that. Could just do 2. I don't know what to do now. I had planned on just putting them like that. There's that was the gold, and here's the pink. I do like the pink. I think I'm going to go for the pink. I can put them aside for another day. But do I want to put the pink across there like that, or do I want to put them cascading down here like this? I think I'll go for this style. I want 2 or 3. I'll put 2. I could just spread them out a little more like that. Perhaps 2's enough. I think 2's enough. Now, I have got this green embossing powder, but I figured that was going to be way too leery for these pastel shades. I've got a die that I could cut some of these leaves, so I could put some white leaves, or I could even cut some leaves out of this, I guess, and use that in there, but that might be a bit too much pink. I've got these leaves too. They're a glass leaf, and I was thinking that I could cut them off, but then I think they might be too small. Yeah, they're too small for the flower. So that's out. I've also got these, like, I don't know what they call them, vein leaves or spider vein leaves or something. I've got them in a gold and a creamy colour. So I could use something like that there. Well, that looks quite nice. Cut that in halves, use just 2. Or there's even some smaller ones there. There's a smaller one. Still a bit big, aren't they? I think they're a bit too big. What does the creamy one look like? Oh, that looks alright. It's just there, but it's not overpowering, is it? And, you know, I could put something like that. Cut that, have that coming out a bit more. So do I like that, or do I like this? Maybe I do like that leaf, and I could cut another one, put it down here. Oh, I don't know, what do you think? What would you go for? Would you go for the gold flowers, the pink flowers, the gold leaves, the green leaf? Oh, I've got these green leaves too, and I'm thinking they'd be too heavy, too dark for the pastel colours on the card. Yeah, I think that's too much. The other thing I could do is cut some of these leaves in a pale green. I might go and cut some of these leaves in a pale green. Do you think I should try gold as well? I'll cut it in a few, I'll cut some out of this and try that, and I'll cut some in a pale green, and I'll cut some in gold and see what we can decide on there. Okay, so I've used my Uniquely Creative dies, it's called Little Leaves, and I've cut some from a very pale green, it is green, and I've cut some from this same paper here. I only had a scrap of it left, so you can see it's not quite cut properly on that one, but it's near enough. And I cut some from a pearlized gold cardstock. So I'm going to try them all. Let's have a look, say something like that. Something down here maybe, so something like that. That doesn't look too bad. I don't know whether it's too pink. I'm not sure about that. Okay, so we'll try the gold. What do we think about the gold? There's two different styles of leaves here, but I'll use them both. It doesn't matter to me which style it is. That doesn't look too bad either. That's good. And try the very pale green. See what we think of that. Yes, I think that's my favourite, the pale green. So I'm going to go for the pale green. I'd love to hear what your choices would be if you were doing it. So now I'm going to use my liquid glue to attach my flowers. So being vellum, you don't want to put your glue out in the open areas, so I'm just going to run some glue around this centre area where the you know, the stamens and that are, and I'm going to put that there. So that's overlapping that edge, and then this one I'm going to just do exactly the same thing around that centre section and put that about there, I guess. Am I happy with that? Yep, that's fine. Now, what about the leaves? Where am I going to put the leaves? I'll put one leaf there. Now I'm going to try and keep that within the confines of the card so that it, when I put it in an envelope, it doesn't squelch over. So maybe something like that. And one down here. One. I've cut 4, so I can use more if I want. Trying to get that to go under there. I could put that one there. I've got this one as well. I could put another one there. No, I think I like this pointy one. And I think I'll just put it in here. Sort of popping out there. What do you reckon? What do you think of that? If I move that one around there and this one up here, because this one's taller, I can afford to move that up a little bit. Move that in there like so. Like that. What do you think of that? More out that way. No, I don't think so. I think I'll have it under there. So that's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to just lightly ink around these leaves. I don't want it to be too dark. Just a little bit of a touch of inking. Just helps them stand out a little bit more because they are so pale. Much on there, just a bit, so I can just run a bit of glue down here, just bits and pieces there, and I'm going to put just a little dot on the tip and pop that in there like so. This one, I haven't inked this one yet, so I'll do that now. So I don't mind if things don't sit flat on the card. I quite like if a card's got a bit of dimension. You can see that those vellum flowers have got a bit of a curve in them. They actually got that curve when I cut them out. So, yeah. And I did sort of roll them around a bit to try and take a bit of the curve out of it. There we go. If I wanted to, I could put a little bit of glue behind that, sort of on top of where it's going to sit on top of the leaf, so that it will be a little bit disguised. Go there like so. I think I will just stick that down a little bit there. Better. And this one I could just pop a little bit under that embossing powder, or that heat embossing. Just hold that down till that glue sticks. This art glitter glue catches fairly quickly, so I won't have to hold it for long. Okay, and so now the next thing is I have to decide what sort of sentiment I want to put on this. So that's what we have so far. Pretty happy with it so far. Okay, now I'll have a look for some sentiments and I'll come back. So I use this Woodware stamp. It's called Word Fragments, and I've used the one that says thinking of you. I've put them in back to front, but anyway, that's what it says, and I've heat embossed that with the same pink. So now I'm going to trim that down. I used my tweezers to hold onto that while I was heat embossing it, so I didn't burn my fingers. I'm going to trim it down so that I've got a little bit of a border around it. Looks about even. Not even. Oh well. It's a bit annoying. Try and trim that down, I guess. Am I game enough to do it with scissors? an atrocious scissor user, but I think I could probably manage to do that. There we go, that's better. Put my trimmer down. Now I'm going to just lightly ink around the edge of that to help it stand out from the background, because of course it's going to go on a white background, on the white card somewhere. I haven't really decided where as yet, and I've got that, I did have this offcut of that cardboard that I used to lift that top piece off, so I'm going to use that. Actually, I've got some foam strips here, I'll use those. So these are 1/8 of an inch foam strips, and I'll put a couple of those on there. So save all those little bits, because you never know when you're going to need a little bit for something or other. And now I'm going to decide where I want to put my sentiment. So we could put it down there, of course. We could put it across our flowers like so. We could put it up here. I think I like it there. So that's where we'll put it. So as I said previously, I'd be really interested to hear your ideas in the comments about whether you would have chosen the same things as I've chosen, or whether you would have went for a different coloured flowers, different coloured leaves, different coloured sentiment, what you might have done, because we've certainly had plenty of options here today. This is the sort of thing that happens every time I make a card though, so it's good to have you along. There we go, trying to make sure that's on there nice and straight. So there we go. So I think thinking of you could be thinking of you, and on the inside you could have thinking of you on your birthday, thinking of you on your wedding, thinking of you on your engagement, thinking of you, I hope you get well soon. So thinking of you I think is fairly versatile, and being in the pink, it's not in your face, so it's fairly unobtrusive there. We could of course add something to the centre of the flowers, but I don't think I will. I'm pretty happy with it like it is. When I decide who I'm giving it to and what the occasion is, I will stamp something in here. But until then, I wonder, I've got a spare flower here, I could attach that on the inside. Why don't I? And a spare leaf. I could have them in here as a little inside embellishment. I think I will do that, seeing as how I've got it spare. Pop that down there and pop a bit of glue on this. It's easy to get too much glue on this sort of thing, and I am guilty of that all the time. I'm going to pop that under there, probably just something like, not like that, or on an angle like that, I think. Yep. And perhaps a little bit of glue under there just to attach that a little bit more. Okay, so there we have it. I'll let that dry a little bit. So, as I said, I'll put a sentiment in here. Actually, I think I might use a pen. No, I won't. I was going to say I'll put a bit of a scribbly border around there, but I don't want to introduce black at this stage. I've probably got a pink pen somewhere, but I can't be bothered looking for it. So that's my card for today. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video, and if you're not already a subscriber, I'd love it if you would subscribe to my channel. And if you click that bell next to the subscribe button, you will be notified when I upload a new video. My plan this year is to do 2 videos a week, one on a Tuesday and one on a Friday. So, and they'll be different things. Sometimes it'll be a card, sometimes it'll be a journal, sometimes it will be a scrapbooking layout. So just a bit of a mixture of all the paper crafts I enjoy doing. So yeah, thank you once again, and I hope you can join me for my next video. Bye.